G'day gamers and welcome back to Nuclearies and the brand new tutorial mode that has just been added. This is going to be my first kind of look at how the solo developer of this game wants you to run the reactor and all that sorts of stuff. So this is going to be really interesting to see how he wants this done with no chemicals installed. So it's obviously everything's installed. We've got loop 1 as you normally would, and it has a little startup pop-up. I might as well read it on out. Welcome to Nuclearies. In this tutorial, we will go through the necessary steps to start up the reactor. All right. First, let's power up all the control panels to receive readings from the sensors. From this control room, you'll be able to monitor everything that's happening at all times. Please activate the power levers on each control station, and we'll see what happens after we complete this. 1, 2, 3. Excellent. So that should be everything. Excellent. Great job. Now that you've powered up the control stations, take some time to walk around and familiarize yourself with the gauges on each one. It's important to understand the purpose of each control. You can right-click with your mouse to enter info mode, so you can just go like this to get little bits of information. Then point to the gauge you want to learn about. When you're ready, we'll move on to the next step. So here we go. We've got some really good gauges all over the shop. We've got some LCD panels, some warning lights, all that sorts of stuff. Goody gumdrops. Now we'll activate the power plant's connection to the external power grid so we don't have to rely on the generator set or emergency batteries, which are actually just above our heads right now. You should never use those unless it's an emergency. Consuming external power has a cost, but you can pay for it with prestige points, aka your money in this game, you earn by generating energy out to the grid. Please activate the switch to connect the plant to the external power grid and then turn off the powered gen set. All right, so let's just turn that one on. And let's just turn off our generator that's upstairs since it is on manual. Excellent. Now let's start preparing the reactor. First, we'll turn on the pressurizer. It's crucial to maintain the pressure of the entire system within the operating range. In a pressurized water reactor, PWR, we don't want the pressure to drop. Turn on the pressurizer heaters and the thermostat so the computer can control the temperature automatically. Once the pressure has reached at least 150 bars, we can proceed. So we'll just wait for that to happen on up, and I might even skip through a little bit of time by pressing 3 on my keyboard. Yes, I may be adding a few extra words in these little startup boxes, but that would hopefully explain things in a little bit more detailed description for you. So we'll just slow it down there, just so we're not going to go too far, and I'll just go to button 2, a little bit slower on that time skip speed, and then we'll slow it down. Fantastic. Back to normal speed by pressing 1. The primary system pressure is now at the required level for the reactor operation. Next, we'll turn on the coolant circulation pumps, aka your primary coolant system. Remember that the pumps should always be off when the pressurizer has just been turned on. Once the pumps reach 50% power, we can proceed. Please activate the primary circulation pump and set its speed to 50%. So we can do that and then press medium. The reason why there's no animation like you see just there is because I'm actually holding the shift button that you can see with those 3 little arrows to allow me to skip that animation, or simply put, if you want the animation, slightly speed it up to what I usually have it as, just there. Not too fast, not too slow, but you also have that shift function to skip everything. So it's really interesting. It says to remember that the circulation primary coolant system pumps need to be off before this gets to at least 150 bars. So that's really quite interesting to see that all going, or at least once the pressurizer has been on, this cannot be on at all. Yeah, okay, cool. So we'll just wait for this to come on to green, showing that it has gotten to 50%, and we'll see if we can get that in one screen. Excellent. The primary circuit circulation is now stabilized. Let's turn on the cooling circuit pump and the vacuum pump to prepare the condenser. This is a good time to observe the main valve panel where you'll find details of each circuit. Now turn on the vacuum pump, the cooling pump, and set its speed to 50. Exactly there. Vacuum pump, condenser itself, pump, and what speed we want that pump to be set at. Fantastic. We'll just wait for that to come up to value, as well as that vacuum to be pulled, for the fact that it just makes the condenser a lot more effective to pull out any heat from that steam going through your turbines being created in the generator itself. So yeah, there's two generators, steam generator and the turbine generator, which outputs power to the grid. So that creates the steam and that does that. So we'll just wait. We might as well speed up the time just a little bit. Excellent. Now is a good time to request permission from the city. You can't deliver power to the grid without authorization. Activate your tablet, tab key, select the COM icon and inform the city that you want to start operations. You'll have to wait just a couple minutes for the city to respond with a time you can start delivering power. So there's the request received. When you receive the response from the city, we can continue. So normally I like to just exit out of the tablet, walk around, do whatever you need to do while you're waiting for that top right little bit here saying you've got a new message. And I've done that mouse activate by holding my left alt key. So that's the new dynamic selection. So if you're looking at a thing that's got lots of like switches, you can just go click, 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 done, no problem. Instead of going do. That can get a little bit cumbersome sometimes. So let's turn this vacuum pump off. Oh, okay, so it won't let us turn it off until we actually get the request or the permission and the time we can output to the grid. Now let's activate the resistance bank. If the turbines start generating power, if we start generating power here, you must deliver it to the city or your resistance banks. If you don't deliver the generated power, the turbines will be damaged. Activate the resistance bank. Boop. Okay, fantastic. Excellent. Couldn't have said it better myself. We have the authorization from the city and the cooling system is active. We're ready to move forward. Now set the operation mode to nominal so the central computer knows you're about to start the reactor. So let's go nominal.
New operating mode established.
Then
Nominal
execute
mode.
the insertion of the fuel block into the core. Oh, we didn't get to read the end of that. That kind of skipped over a little bit too quick, but that's fine. We kind of got that out of the way. That allows the fuel to go into that actual pressurized water vessel in the middle of all that water you visually see now. So the reactor is ready. To initiate the chain reaction, slightly withdraw the control rods. Once you've done that, the core will start to heat up. The primary circuit will carry that thermal energy to the evaporators, and the steam produced will drive the turbines. Take some time to analyze the plant's status. Once the reaction has begun, you won't have time. Position the control rods at 98%. So he's probably chosen 98% specifically so it's a nice slow reaction since we have no chemicals installed. So these 4 gauges right here has nothing to do with us currently. So let's go ahead and do that. 98. Set. Fantastic. So what that's going to do, since we've got nice pressure, we don't want steam, it's going to increase that temperature by increasing this reactivity. Excellent. The chain reaction has begun. Now we must wait for the reactor to reach critical mass, aka 55 degrees. Critical mass is the minimum amount of material necessary for a self-sustaining nuclear chain reaction to take place. So we'll just wait for that 55 degrees to happen. The screen will shake, it'll flash blue, and you'll hear a big clicking sound in the background. That means you've hit the 55 degrees and you will then hopefully start transferring a lot more heat over to your steam generator. So we'll just wait up for the next pop-up before I confuse anything further. Since we've got the nice 98, it will bring it up nice and slowly. It'll be interesting to see if it lets us take it further out to speed it up later on, but I highly doubt it. It may be a little bit slower than normal, so I'm going to speed it up just to get that done. There we go. The reactor has reached critical mass. We've reached the point of no return. If you want to shut the reactor down now, we should initiate the shutdown protocol. The temperature will continue to rise. Monitor the evaporator. When the steam pressure starts to rise, that steam will drive the turbines, but this will also cause a decrease in volume in the evaporator. Wait until the evaporator increases its internal pressure. Okay, so this one right here. Waiting for this, so AKA we're just waiting for this to get to 100 degrees pretty much, where it would then start boiling that steam, as that's the boiling temperature or threshold of your normal water, because there's normal water inside your steam generator in a closed loop, and then there's heavy water, aka deuterium water, in your primary coolant system, actually touching your fuel rods themselves. The difference is one's deuterium water, D2O, and this one here is H2O that we all know. Slightly different. Deuterium is actually found in 1 drop of every 7,000 drops of normal water, which is really interesting. So yes, you have drunk some deuterium at some point in your life, but obviously moderation is key. So there we go, we got that, we got this, 110. So now, oh, we still can't do it. There we go, we just got there a little bit too far. So the coolant volume within the evaporator has started to decrease, meaning the generated steam is being driven towards the turbines. Now it's time to turn the pumps that return the condensed coolant inside the condenser back to the evaporator. It's important to maintain this situation in equilibrium or balanced. Turn on the secondary circuit pump and set its speed to 25. Fantastic. So now that's on, we should now start fighting this value here that was starting to boil off and turn into steam, and we're adding more water to the system to try and balance or equilibrate everything out. So that should then start generating power eventually. Excellent. The condensed steam is returning to the evaporator. The circuit is complete. The core heats the coolant. The primary pump transports that thermal energy to the evaporator. The evaporator heats up and generates the pressurized steam, which then drives the turbines and the condenses and cools in the condenser right here. The secondary circuit pump returns that condensed and cooled coolant to the evaporator. Move forward when you're ready. All right, yep. You now have, that was a double skip. It did ask me to do that, no problem. City clearance time has arrived, but you won't be able to do so until you've synchronized the turbine. At this time, any generated power will be diverted to the resistance banks. If you exceed the capacity of the banks, the turbine will be damaged. Use the bypass valves if necessary to reduce the turbine's power. When you're ready, we'll move on to the next step. So I'm going to crank this all the way up because we are severely overpowering at the moment, almost more than what they can actually take. But either way, the tutorial has saved us from that. So let's press enter. Now it's time to use the synchroscope and to synchronize the frequency of the electricity generating turbine with the city's requirements. When you're ready, we'll move on to the next step. So this is slightly catching up. I'm going to leave this at about 60 right there. Enter. We will proceed to synchronization. First, you need to increase the reactor's power until the RPM of the generating turbine is close to the operating value. The synchroscope controls will only help you with the final fine-tuning. Increase the power until the turbine RPM is as close to possible to the operating speed. Close as possible to the operating speed. So as it will come up, more and more and more, that's automatically doing it because we're sending more and more power over to it. So we're finally generating just a little bit of power. Finally, we can possibly even turn this down to like 55. So what these bypass valves are doing is that it's bypassing all the steam we're creating here around the electric turbine and sending it straight over to the condenser, overheating that a little more than when you're not using this at all and this is set to 0. So we're just waiting for this to get to 3060. That's perfectly fine. We'll press enter. Oh, we can't. There's no ability to skip, but there's no point in trying to skip this any further. We'll just wait for this to click on over and try and balance things out by adding maybe a little bit more water if we need to, but 1700 to 1800 is where the sweet spot of this is at. So I might increase this to 30 because we don't want to overdo it. Obviously, since we're increasing this, it'll drop our power just a little bit, but then it will start increasing it like it should. So I might open this bit a little bit more, bypass a little bit more steam around it because we don't want to hit that 5000. Still waiting for the 3060. That's seen by this maximum right here. And that is going as fast as it will be, apart from me clicking this RPM raise all the time. So while that's happening, we're just trying to balance everything else out. We want this to come up maybe a little bit more. What's our temperature at? 222, very good for 98. Bringing it up nice and slowly with the reactivity of 12.06. Oh, it was. Anything below 10 even, your temperature will drop. Anything above 10 even will make your temperature raise. So just keep that in mind. Still making this very nice. 1787, 89. Good, that might be even a little bit too much, but eventually more and more temperature will start making this hotter and hotter because we want this temperature in the reactor at about 360 degrees Celsius. That's the temperature you're aiming for. Cool. You're almost there. Double check the reactor power settings. The RPM should be stable within the operating range. The voltage and hertz should match between the turbine output and the city's requirements. And the synchroscope should have stopped rotating, or at least as fast as it was, at the 0 position. So what we need to do is we need to get this to 3060 while that red dot is right up the top there, and that there will turn green. That's where we want it to lock into. So we just need to speed this up because if it's going in this direction, you see it's too slow. We need to speed it up to go too fast by doing this. So let's click on that. And let's hold the Alt button to get the mouse. It might make it a little bit faster. So let's get it up to 355 and then let it come around so we don't wait too long. And we can just kind of slow it down as it gets to the top. Like so. Oh, no. Lower it. Lower it. This is good because if you screw up, no. And if you raise it a little bit more and lower it, there we go. Once that's done, all you need to do is close that breaker. Oh, okay. It won't let me do it just yet. There we go. You've done it. The turbine is synchronized. You can now close the synchroscope breaker and start delivering power to the grid. So currently, we're generating 3,000 kilowatts, which some of which is being taken by our facility itself, seen by these numbers here. So that's why what is excessively burning off in your resistors is not matching up with this number that you're totally generating from the steam and your turbines themselves. So let's go ahead and close that breaker like so. That light will turn green, showing that you're outputting power to the grid. Fantastic. So now the city is demanding 6,000 kilowatts, but remember our turbine bypasses are open. So all we need to do now is close these off to put all of that steam we're creating through those electric turbines to output more power to the grid instead of bypassing them around it and sending it straight to the condenser and then back through the loop. So now this number should gradually increase quite severely and rather nicely. We'll just wait for this thing. Congratulations, you now have complete control of the reactor. Increase power according to demand or reduce it during off-peak hours. So off-peak hours would be like your midnight, things like that, and your peak demand times would probably be the morning, the midday, and around about the 5 to 8 p.m. in the night period would be your most demanded times of the grid itself. So remember to balance the power distribution between the core, evaporator, and the condenser. Also ensure that the coolant remains within operating ranges. So these two right here is what you're really watching for. This one here and this one here. The reason why these ones are blank and the same with these four here is because we're only got loop 3 installed, as it shows by that light there. Next step. I think that is just about all of it for the tutorial. So right about there, it should automatically come up. So what I might do is I might skip the time to see what it might be like just a little bit more in the future to kind of help you balance out what you can do. So right now I'd probably like walk around the plant, have a look around, push some buttons, flick some switches, do a quick save beforehand, obviously, so you know what things do. Very, very handy, and that is how I learnt how to play this game without this tutorial. Start up the reactor. If something went wrong, try something different. So now we are severely over temperaturizing things. So let's get this to 99 and slow the reactor temperature down. I'm going to press 1 to slow my time down. And now, since it's below 10 even, at 99, this temperature will then drop below what it says here. So no alarms or anything like that will go off until you reach 400 degrees, and then you're slightly damaging your core. So not a massive emergency if you hit 400 degrees, as you can then just hit the scram button, which will straight away set all your control rods to 100%, whether you have electricity in your facility or not, for the fact that as long as you have power running to this panel and you can set the control rods, gravity will be able to take over and allow those control rods to be inserted into the core as it would in real life. It's just a safety precaution. If all electricity fails, you're still able to insert and control the reactor temperature and its reactivity. So what we might do now, since we are definitely generating power, we need to get off the external power supply, so we're not wasting any more money. And I'm going to go into the tablet, down to the bank and invoices, service invoices, and I'm going to go auto pay outstanding invoices at the end of each day. That's going to allow us to always have the ability to use that switch. But don't forget, you do have an internal generator above your head. And if you want to use that, click this to automatic. So if your facility were to run out of power, your lights would turn off, instantly your batteries would kick on, allowing your internal generator to power up in the background. It takes about 5 to 10 seconds, depending on your upgrades and all that sorts of stuff. So worst case scenario, you have that external power supply. But now that's on automatic. We have no generator too, so that's why that's just like that. Our batteries are on automatic. No other issues right there. The pressurizer should keep everything automatically pressurized. If it drops below 150, it should get back up to 170, and then over time, it'll start boiling off. Steam in your reactor is not a good thing, as that is what is called a negative coefficient, and temperature does not like, reactors do not like steam bubbles, which is why this is pressurized to stop any steam from being created. If you learned something and you like this video or you like this new tutorial, make sure you go ahead and like this game on Steam. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good jazz, and stay sharp till next time as always. See ya!